The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
You are now tuned in to the PA Power Podcast, featuring Jeff Upson and Eric Knopsnyder. PA Power Wrestling. PA Power Wrestling. Pennsylvania is wrestling.
Welcome in, wrestling fans. I'm Jeff Upson, host of PA Power Podcast, and my normal co-host, Eric Knopsnyder, is off today, and I have a new co-host. It's going to be Jake Woodley from North Allegheny. Jake, how you doing tonight?
Good. How about you?
Doing well, and you have a decision to make tonight. You are going to make your college commitment here on the PA Power Podcast. But first, we wanted to just talk a little bit about the last couple weeks and especially the summer. We saw you down at the Super 32 last weekend. First time really competing up at 195 pounds. I know you didn't finish where you wanted to, but talk about that experience wrestling 195 pounds.
It was pretty good. I had a couple tough matches with Hoffman and that kid from Minnesota. I felt pretty good. A little bit undersized, but shouldn't be too much of a problem. And I still have time to get a little bit bigger. So, I wrestled pretty well. Didn't wrestle bad. Just dropped a couple tough matches and took sevenths. But, it is what it is.
Now, that match you were talking about, Gavin Hoffman from Montoursville, he was a state champion last year. You were a state champion as well. So that was a match I'm sure you were looking forward to, and you guys were going at it.
Yeah, it was a pretty high-paced match. He's a real big kid, and, I was pretty close to getting a takedown in the second, got in on a few in the third, but that takedown in the first period made it 3-2, and, it was a tough loss, but I'm pretty sure they go to Powerade, so hopefully I'll see him there. And, he's a tough kid. At least he's from PA,
Right. Makes it a little bit
somewhere
better.
Else.
But, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, talk about that just difference in wrestling up at 195. It's not like you're moving from 38 to 45. You're making a pretty significant jump up in weight. Is it a different kind of style? It's not – you were sort of always a middleweight wrestler your high school career, and your first time here at 95. Is it a different type of style, maybe a different pace?
Yeah, it wasn't as fast, but guys are definitely bigger and stronger. Hoffman actually moved pretty well for a big guy. So that's why we had a good match, because we were both offensive and stuff. But, yeah, for the most part, they're not as fast, but they're pretty big and strong. But, I'm still working on getting bigger, and I'm going to be just as big and strong as them soon.
So you don't really have your plan is to put a little bit more weight on for your senior season instead of you're not really worrying about too much of a cut, correct?
Right. I walk around like 200, 202, 202 is biggest I've ever been. So I'm going to try to just get to 205, 206 probably, and have another good year.
Now, speaking of another good year, last year, it's no surprise. I'm a huge fan of Jake Woodley and what he's accomplished. Last year was your first time making it to the state tournament, and you were able to come away with PIAA State Championship. Just talk about that run to the state championship, your first time there, and how special that was for you and your coach Sonny Abe.
It was really cool, especially Sonny's first year. And my first time there, it was tough. I had Gentili in the quarters. That was a real tough match. Peck in the semis. He took third at Super 32, I think. So he's doing pretty well. And Cabali in the finals. So, it was a really good tournament. Obviously, I'm happy the way it played out. And hopefully I can do that again this year.
Now, after the state championship, you went on to the Flow Nationals. You placed fourth there in one of the top tournaments in the nation. Then you also went out to your second trip in Fargo, where you earned an All-American honors. You injury default in the final two matches. Talk about that injury and how you've been able to overcome that.
I got a high ankle sprain in my left ankle, and high ankle sprains they're terrible. Because they just take a long time to heal, and it took a while to get back, but now I have no problems with it, and I started probably late August, working out again hard, and I've been going ever since.
And then in the last week, you finished 7th at the Super 32. Talk about just getting prepared for your senior season. Do you feel like this is you're battle tested? You went to Fargo, you did the Flow Nationals, really cemented your name on the national level. While I think you're still highly underrated on the national level, I still think you obviously are one of the top guys in the nation. So do you feel like you're a little bit more battle tested going into your senior season?
Yeah, I definitely feel good. Big confidence booster, going to a bunch of tournaments in the off season, and we have a pretty good schedule going to Escape the Rock, Beast of the East, Powerade. So, hopefully I win those and win states again and really solidify who I am.
Right, because last year you're still looking for your first Powerade championship, correct?
Yeah.
So it's a pretty tough tournament to win, as you know. So I'm sure you'd like to cap your senior season off with a championship at each one of those big tournaments, like you had mentioned, Escape the Rock. First year that NA is going down to that tournament down at Council Rock South. So really looking forward to your senior season. In terms of your college commitment, you're ranked number 7th in the state or in all of Pennsylvania in the top recruits. You were WPIAA regional qualifier your first 2 seasons. Last year, we talked about your first trip to states. You came away with a state championship. Talk about the recruiting process, and when did colleges really start taking a notice in you? When did you really start feeling that pressure?
Well, I took 4th at Fargo before my junior year started, so there was some schools contacting me, but not a whole bunch. And then as the season progressed, I won King of the Mountain, took 2nd at Powerade, and won states. More and more schools started calling, and then took a few visits, and here I am.
And here you are. The last time we had you on the show was right before Fargo, and we talked to you about college recruiting. You said flat out, you're like, I have no idea where I'm going and what you were doing. So how long was that process? Was it a grueling process for you? Was it something that, I know some wrestlers say it's the hardest decision they've ever to make. What was the situation like for you, the process?
Yeah, it was a really hard decision, but after Fargo, I narrowed it down to 5, and then took my visits. And I mean, it was a fun process, meeting a lot of people and going on visits and stuff. But it does get on you a little bit, and I'm happy I made my decision and everything.
Now, where were the you said you took 5 official visits, is that correct?
Yeah.
Where were the 5 official visits that you took?
I went to Maryland, UNC, Virginia, American, and Oklahoma. So
a lot of tough schools there. A lot of ACC schools there. Maryland, head coach Kerry McCoy, and obviously Coleman Scott down there at UNC. American, you have, you're one of your best alumni in all of North Allegheny is Teague Moore down there, and Keith Gavin, one of the top guys in the nation in coaching down at Oklahoma. Virginia, you mentioned, was a lot of Pennsylvania guys, and especially the WPIAA guys, end up going down there. What helped influence your decision? What was it you were looking for?
I wasn't real sure what I was looking for, but when I went down to Oklahoma, all those schools are really good schools, and I was worried Oklahoma was, not like the best school, and that's where I decided to go.
Oklahoma it is.
Oklahoma, but I went down there and I noticed some kids like Brad Johnson, the 197, was majoring in pre-med, and like a bunch of kids were majoring in pre-physical therapy, and it opened my eyes that, I can still go to Oklahoma and still do what I want to do after college. I don't have to go to a really good school to do what I want to do, because I think I want to major in pre-physical therapy. I can still go to Oklahoma and be a physical therapist, and I really like Keith. Because he started recruiting me to go to Virginia,
right.
And then when he went to Oklahoma, continued to talk to me, and I like Roselli a lot too. He really loves wrestling. He's a really good coach too. So, I just thought Oklahoma was a great place. Loved the campus. It's a little far away, but you could be 20 minutes away from home and it'll feel like 10 hours. So Oklahoma was the place for me.
Well, that's just incredible, Jake, and we congratulate you on that decision going to Oklahoma. It's interesting, because from what I understand, Oklahoma was, until Keith was there, it wasn't as much on the radar for you. So, you had an open weekend where you could go down and take that official visit down there to Oklahoma. Was the distance not? I know your sister is at Iowa. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So your father now is going to have two kids down a few hours away from him from Pittsburgh. So what was the distance like for you? Was that not a factor?
It was a little bit, but Virginia's 4.5 hours away. UNC is like 7, 8, Maryland and American aren't too far, but even because my sister just transferred to Iowa, she went to W&J before that, and she was 40 minutes away, and she was never home, and it was basically like being far away, So even if I would have went somewhere closer, it would have felt the same as going to Oklahoma. They have a pre-physical therapy major.
So that was a pretty big factor for you, was having the right major and seeing yourself succeed after your life in wrestling. Is that correct?
Yeah, and especially when I saw other guys doing that too, because I didn't want to go somewhere where I'd end up having a major that wasn't like a good major and then feel lost after college. But I noticed other guys also were focused on, what they want to do after wrestling.
Now, it's interesting, Jake, because we had Keith Gavin on here a few weeks ago when he was first named the assistant coach at Oklahoma, and we were just reminiscing about the different Pennsylvania wrestlers that traveled down to Oklahoma. Not a whole lot of guys down there. We had Robbie Waller, a couple other wrestlers from Pennsylvania, but not a steady stream of recruits. Was it more difficult for you just because Pennsylvania doesn't necessarily have a strong presence in Oklahoma, or was just having Keith there that make it so much more better?
Having Keith there is definitely a huge thing, because not only is he a good coach, he's a nice guy too, so that's good. And, a lot of the guys, even though I didn't know them before, they're nice guys, and I got along with them well, so, Oklahoma's a great place.
Talk about Coach Roselli there. It's his first year head coach. He spent many, many years at Ohio State. Did you know him very much going into this, or was this something that sort of was sprung onto you with that relationship with Coach Roselli?
Yeah, I talked to him before I went down, but going down there was the first time I met him, and he just loves wrestling, and he's a great coach. Coached a bunch of guys training at Ohio State, Kyle Snyder. He coached Keith, and that's a big reason why Keith took that job, because he likes Roselli, and I have faith in him to be my coach. Now,
talking about just the relief, you finally you made that decision. Do you feel like a little bit weight's off your shoulders now? You can put that, you figured out, okay, I'm going to Oklahoma. It's time to focus on my senior year. Do you feel a little bit better now?
Yeah, I feel a ton better. Excited to get into the season now. Don't have to worry about where I'm going to go to school. I know where I'm going. So that it's definitely a huge relief.
Now, what's your goals going into Oklahoma? Because I know you got to have some lofty goals. You're not going to be so much a surprise anymore. You're not going to fly under the radar like you did your first 2 years and 3 years, really. So what's the goals going down to Oklahoma?
I want to be an NCAA champ. It's a big reason why I'm going down there. They produce all the time, and that was a big thing for me. And if the opportunity presents itself to wrestle after college, and I hope it does, and I'll take that too and run with it. That's far down the road, but we'll see where that takes me. But right now, I'm focused on my senior year, but when I go to college, I really want to win NCAAs, and the more the merrier,
Yeah, sure.
If I could win it 2 or 3, 4 times, that'd be great. And hopefully I get to wrestle after college. But if not, I'm still going to be majoring in pre-physical therapy, and if things don't work out, I can still go to PT school and be a physical therapist.
and have a successful life outside of wrestling. And, it's interesting, as we said before, with Keith Gavin, he never won a state championship in Pennsylvania competing in AA, and he went on to win an NCAA championship. So I'm sure Keith is going to be a major influence on you and getting you to that point where you are going to be competing for a national championship. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely a lot. Keith really knows what he's doing, especially making that big jump from high school to college and really dominating, and then made the world team too. So, he knows the stuff. So does Roselli. Can't wait to go down.
Well, Jake, we obviously wish you the best of luck down in Norman, Oklahoma. You're going to be saying, I guess, boomer sooner quite often now. Is that correct?
Yep.
Well,
yep. Texas sucks.
Okay, so you're already working on you already know who's going to be rivals with you in Oklahoma and competing in the Big 12 there. You're going to have a really tough opponent there in Oklahoma State.
Yeah, that's like their big cheer that they do during football games.
Okay.
They yell boomer sooner, and then Texas sucks. That's why I said that. But yeah, Texas, and like most sports, is their rival, but they don't have wrestling, so they wrestle Oklahoma State twice a year. And that's awesome because they get a big crowd. Home and away, they're going to get a big crowd, and wrestling in big matches like that's got to be fun.
Now, have you been able to go to an Oklahoma football game yet?
No, they played at Texas Tech this weekend, so I didn't get to go to a game, but they all told me that the games are lots of fun because they're saying Oklahoma doesn't have – all they have is Oklahoma City Thunder, so college football is like
huge.
What everyone loves.
Right,
so it's
right.
huge down there. You're either Oklahoma State or Oklahoma. So I'll be excited to go to a few games next year.
Absolutely. Well, Jake, in the meantime, we look forward to seeing you this season, your senior season at North Allegheny, wrestling at 195 pounds, and we appreciate you taking the time out and making your college announcement here on the PA Power podcast. So we really appreciate it and wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for supporting me and believing in me, and thanks for having me tonight. Absolutely,
Jake. Well, look forward to seeing you, and you've been tuned into the PA Power podcast. Stay up to date with all the Pennsylvania wrestling news. Visit PAPowerWrestling.com. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You name it, we have it. And stay tuned for some more college commitments, I'm sure, coming up soon. So thanks for tuning in.